Dr. Paul Edwards, Dairy, NZ, New Zealand, Dr. Jirasak Shibatang, Senior Animal Husbandry Officer, Department of Livestock Development, Thailand, Dr. Abhijit Gurjar, Director, Global Commercial Development, CITES, Dr. Bhushan Tyagi, Joint Commissioner, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India, Ms. Rahul Kumar, Chief Operating Officer, Parag Dairy, Dr. Rajiv Krishnan, Executive Director, NDDB Dairy Services. And along with them, we also have Mr. Michael van Urkel, Agriculture Counselor, Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. We'll be starting our technical session in next few minutes. Please reassemble. May I request all of our dignitaries, all of our delegates to kindly assemble back. എല്ലാവരും ദയവായി സീറ്റുകളിലേക്ക് കടന്നിരിക്കാൻ റിക്വസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാണ്. Let's get ready for our first technical session on the topic exploring farmer-centric interventions in productivity enhancement. Thank you very much. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the first IDF Regional Dairy Conference. We'll be shortly starting our first session. And may I request all our guests who are sitting on the back seats to kindly come forward. All those who are sitting at the back rows, please come forward. We have enough seat vacant in the front row, so please do come forward. ഏറ്റവും പുറകിലെ സീറ്റുകൾ ഇരിക്കുന്നവർ ദയവായി ഫ്രണ്ടിൽ ഒഴിഞ്ഞെടുക്കുന്ന സീറ്റുകളിലേക്ക് വന്നിരിക്കേണ്ടതാണ്. ഏറ്റവും പുറകിലെ റോകളിൽ ഇരിക്കുന്നവർ ദയവായി മുന്നിൽ ഒഴിഞ്ഞെടുക്കുന്ന സീറ്റുകളിലേക്ക് വന്നിരിക്കുക. May I request all of our guests who are sitting at the back rows to kindly come forward. Thank you. And also kindly make sure all your mobile phones are on the silent mode for the duration of the event. Thank you very much. Welcome back, all of you. We'll be starting our first technical session. Before that, may I request all our guests who are sitting at the back rows to kindly come forward. All those who are sitting at the back seats, please come forward. ഏറ്റവും പുറകിൽ ഇരിക്കുന്നവർ ദയവായി ഫ്രണ്ടിലെ സീറ്റുകളിലേക്ക് വന്നിരിക്കുക. ഏറ്റവും പുറകിലെ സീറ്റുകളിൽ ഇരിക്കുന്നവർ ദയവായി മുന്നിൽ ഒഴിഞ്ഞിടക്കുന്ന സീറ്റുകളിലേക്ക് വന്നിരിക്കുക. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be shortly starting our first technical session on the topic Farmer-centric interventions in productivity enhancement. This session will be followed by a lunch break, and post-lunch we'll be having another technical session on the topic global and regional perspectives on dairying and innovation. So we have many excellent and interesting sessions coming for you. Once again, may I request all of you to kindly assemble back. Please remain seated as we are shortly starting our first technical session on the topic Farmer-centric interventions in productivity enhancement, chaired by Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS, Additional Secretary, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. Thank you. A very good morning, our distinguished dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I can't hear you. Good morning. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the first IDF Regional Dairy Conference, Asia Pacific 2024, focusing on farmer-centric innovations in dairy. Following our inspiring inaugural ceremony, we are now ready to begin our first technical session dedicated to exploring farmer-centric interventions in productivity enhancement. I'm honored to have such esteemed experts and thought leaders with us today to share their insights and experience on the topic. Ladies and gentlemen, before we commence, I would like to invite our session chair, speakers, and panel members to the dais. Please join me in welcoming our session chair, Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS, Additional Secretary, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome her with a round of applause. Welcome, madam. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. John Henry Nason, Dairy Consultant, J+J Dairy Solutions, New Zealand. Welcome, sir. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Paul Edwards, Dairy NZ, New Zealand. We welcome you, sir. Let's welcome Dr. Jirasak Shabatang, Senior Animal Husbandry Officer, Department of Livestock Development, Thailand. Welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Abhijit Gurjar, Director, Global Commercial Development, CITES. Welcome, sir. Let's welcome Dr. Bhushan Tyagi, Joint Commissioner, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. Welcome, sir. Let's together welcome Mr. Rahul Kumar, Chief Operating Officer, Parag Dairy. Hearty welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the round of applause. Let's welcome Dr. Rajiv Krishnan, Executive Director, NDDB Dairy Services. And finally, let's welcome our panel member, Mr. Michael van Erkel, Agricultural Counselor, Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Hearty welcome, sir. Once again, welcome to all our panel members of this session. Ladies and gentlemen, our session will start with opening remarks by our chair, followed by addresses from each speaker, and finally, a panel discussion. Each speaker will have 10 minutes for their presentation, and there will be a warning bell before the last 3 minutes and a final double bell to conclude. Now, without further ado, let's start by inviting our Honorable Session Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, quickly introducing our Session Chair, Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS. Ladies and gentlemen, she is currently the Additional Secretary, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. Ms. Joshi has been a pivotal figure in driving initiatives aimed at improving the dairy sector in India. Ms. Joshi, an IAS officer of the 1995 batch, has held several prominent positions, including Chairman of the National Dairy Development Board, Commissioner of the North Delhi Municipal Corporation, and Secretary of Power and Commissioner of Transport with the Government of NCT, New Delhi. She has also served as Joint Secretary in the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Ms. Joshi's major areas of expertise include infrastructure, urban planning, gender issues, and leveraging data for development. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS, to deliver her opening remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Am I audible? Thank you and welcome to the entire esteemed guests on the dais and all the audience here for our first technical session in this Regional Dairy Conference. And in fact, this session is the most on-theme session of all. It is specifically about farmer-centric interventions in productivity enhancement. And we have a very distinguished panel here. We have Dr. John Henry Nison, consultant, J+J Dairy Solutions from New Zealand, Dr. Paul Edwards from Dairy New Zealand. We have Dr. Chirasak Chopthang from the Department of Livestock Development, Thailand, Dr. Abhijit Gurjar, Director, Global Commercial Development, Zoetis, Dr. Bhushan Tyagi from the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Mr. Rahul Kumar from Parag Dairy, Dr. Rajiv Krishnan from the NDDB Dairy Services, and we have a special panelist, Agricultural Councillor, Mr. Michael Van Erkel from Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands. I would request, because we are already running, I think, pretty much behind schedule, I would not like to spend too much time in making introductory remarks. I would just say that even though some of us on the day, some of us in the audience are coming from countries which are having small farmers, some of us are coming from countries which have large farms, but a lot of the challenges which are coming going forward are going to be very similar. There's always the climate conversation which turns round and looks at our cows. We know that perhaps they are not the biggest contributor, but still we need to do our bit towards climate mitigation. Productivity, how to bring productivity till the farmer. There are issues of cost, there are issues of acceptance, because in every country there is a certain tradition by which dairying has happened. It has always been part of the culture from time immemorial. So convincing a farmer to go for something new requires a certain kind of engagement, a certain kind of understanding of his or her requirements. How do we adapt our information, adapt our message, adapt our technology to suit what the farmer needs, what the farmer feels? There is a whole challenge of farming becoming less and less attractive to the younger generation, how to sustain the interests of the younger people to make it more attractive for them to continue this very, very important business and very, very important nutritional requirement of the world. This and many other issues, I'm sure, will be discussed by all the panelists today. Looking forward to what they have to say. Once again, a small request to please abide by the time, because we are already short. I now invite Dr. John Henry Nison from J&J Dairy Solutions, New Zealand, for his talk.
Before inviting him, can I read out his bio quickly? So, may I take a moment? Thank you very much, Ms. Joshi, for setting the stage with your insightful address. Let me quickly introduce our first speaker, Dr. John Henry Nison, a renowned dairy consultant from the Center of Dairy Excellence, New Zealand. Dr. Nison has been a scientist in New Zealand and West Africa, managed dairy farms in New Zealand, the US, and Australia, and headed a dairy extension team covering 5 states in southern India. Currently, he is a dairy consultant for J+J Dairy Solutions. Dr. Nison will discuss the importance of farmer-centric innovations in sustainable food system. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Nison for his address. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm going to have to go quickly through this because of time constraints. The key on this is, well, farmer-centric, obviously, but innovation. There are 2 perspectives to innovation. There is the theoretical, comes from the scientist, and there's the farmer perspective, which is based on economics, labor input and risk, or what we sometimes call reality. Okay, and we somehow have to mix the 2 together to make a good mix. The requirement for innovation and change is constant, all the time. It does not go away. And so we have to maintain thinking about how we can change, okay? And I can't go through all, there's a whole range of reasons, but I better move on. And I'm just going to quickly contrast 2 major changes in agriculture or dairy production one in New Zealand, and one in India, okay? In New Zealand, traditionally the South Island was sheep, the North Island was dairy. Then, due to some changes in export markets and government policies, sheep farming on the South Island became basically unprofitable. Also, what happened were there was changes in irrigation technology, and suddenly the capability of doing irrigated dairy production in the South Island became feasible, and it took off. The first conversion started in 1980, the last conversion in 2014. And what I want to really emphasize is this was all farmer-driven. There was no research station set up until 2009, 2010, when most of the conversions had happened. This change was all done by farmers, and the scientists basically played catch-up, okay? There were some issues that have been highlighted since then by the scientists, but I have to carry on. And if we just look at the milk production now, total New Zealand milk production, more of it is starting to come more and more every year from the South Island. And we are at the point now where we look at the proportion between North and South Island, it's about 50-50. Whereas in 1985, it was basically 100% from the North Island. So there's been a huge transformation, farmer-driven. India, okay, and I spent 5 years working for an extension team in India. Okay, traditional native cattle basically provided household milk and perhaps some to sell to the neighbors. I'm generalizing here. It's very, very difficult to generalize about India. It's so complicated and complex. But anyway, I'm doing my best. These animals are heat tolerant, drought, disease resistant, which harvested marginal land and crop byproducts. What we brought to the farmers here was a massive change. Introduction of Western dairy breeds, the need for better feed to produce more milk and get pregnant. These Western breeds, if they're not fed properly, do not produce and do not reproduce. So they have to start using cropping land to grow fodder. They need better health management. They are more susceptible to disease. And then also what started was village-based procurement, either by co-ops and now more recently dairy companies, for urban areas and for export. With these changes, there is the potential for a lot more income for the dairy farmers if it is done properly. And my question is, are there good models out there? Okay? And I think it's fair to say that with the newer breeds and stuff, the amount of practical farmer knowledge about how to handle the issues is quite limited, okay? And because informal innovation takes time. Okay, one of the key things is to help the farmers identify constraints. And first thing is ask the farmer, okay? They know their business, they know the cows. Talk to them. Also know the situation. You got to have the numbers. Know the herd size, reproductive efficiency, average milk production, milk quality. That means animal recording. The company I work for, we use Herdman software, which is an Indian-developed software. There are other packages available. I know that. One of the key issues that came out of a lot of these discussions is that one of the biggest constraints, one of the biggest problems farmers faced was mastitis. Okay? And for that, the only treatment was antibiotics. And teat dipping post-milking was not being practiced, which came as a bit of a shock to me. So what we did was we had to start doing some research to test the effectiveness of commercial teat dips and nutraceuticals against subclinical mastitis. And we deliberately did it on farms, small farms, to make sure it worked in the village, okay? Not on the research station and then find out it doesn't work in the village. And we did that for robust scientific results, but also to get the farmer feedback. And then the question becomes, which is more important? Okay, I really can't go into all the details of these trials. Basically, we looked at various teat dips, lactic acid or iodine, along with a nutraceutical. And what we found was that we could get a dramatic drop in somatic cell count over time. And when we did a longer trial with more products, when we started the cows with some severe subclinical mastitis, we actually got the somatic cell count down to between 25 and 30,000 in village cows. Village cows can produce very, very high quality milk if they are managed properly. And the fat content of the milk went up from about 3.5% to 5%, which results in an increased return to the farmer, which far exceeds the cost of the nutraceuticals and the teat dip. So we demonstrated ways to reduce somatic cell count and improve milk quality without expensive antibiotics. What did the farmers think? Well, they were happy with the improved returns, but they noticed other things that we weren't even looking for. One was cowpox lesions disappeared, okay? Second thing was the whole milking became more pleasurable for the cow. Because her teats were softer, and because she didn't have subclinical mastitis, which, well, we know in humans is quite painful, and we assume the same in cows, the milking of the cow became more pleasurable, and the chances of being kicked were dramatically reduced. And that, to the farmers, was actually far more important than all the scientific gobbledygook we were talking about, okay? The chances of being kicked were reduced or eliminated. Which outcome is more important? Well, to the farmer, it was what they saw. To the scientists and maybe to the milk producers, it's what we recorded. In the longer term, this gave us confidence to start to use ethnoveterinary medicine, and the feedback from that indicates it's highly effective. There's Professor Punya Murthy will be talking on that in one of the later sessions, okay? And so here, a farmer-centric development of non-antibiotic mastitis treatment has occurred. Just quickly on silage making, the most economical way to produce milk is to maximize quality forage intake and then meet the inadequacies with concentrate. That's fundamental in every country in the world. The problem is matching forage growth to animal demand. And what do you do with the surplus? What do you do with the deficit? The answer is silage. The problem is there is not a small farmer-friendly silage technology, or there wasn't. The big balers just don't work for the small farmer, okay? What do these big balers do? They pack the forage to take the air out. You can do it with a vacuum cleaner. You can do it with a vacuum cleaner. This is what we produced. And after a couple weeks, the farmers tried it, okay? So we came in with an innovation. We went back to this farm 2 weeks after they started feeding it. This is what we saw. They did that themselves. They said that was a good idea. We like it. Innovation. Let's go with it, okay? We also observed that making a total mixed ration diet for the cows became very easy for these farmers. And now the feeding of the cows was a lot more being done by women because it wasn't physically demanding. Okay, so just to summarize, in New Zealand, many of the production issues are dealt with by farmers and innovators with little input from the scientists and researchers. The scientist role has evolved to a large degree, and I'm generalizing here again, to environmental issues and specific topics that are too difficult to do on farms. But a lot of those are identified by the farmers. And the same innovation evolution I can see is starting to happen in India. okay, the farmers are starting to innovate, okay? But in the meantime, farmer-centric innovations require close collaboration between scientists, extension agents, and farmers. They can all provide valuable insights and, more importantly, different perspectives. Proper knowledge of the problem requires good data. Small farmers in India are business people. They usually have about 2 or 3 agricultural enterprises going at any one time. If dairying is going to increase production, it's got to be as or more profitable than the other agricultural enterprises they have. There are many intelligent, innovative farmers. Plug into their knowledge. It's imperative for success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Neeson. Thank you so much. Very short, sweet, and very educative talk from you. Thank you so much. I now call upon Dr. Paul Edwards from Dairy New Zealand.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, Dr. Paul Edwards, a farm system scientist at Dairy NZ, who completed his PhD on milking efficiency. He has focused on applying research results, working with farmers and stakeholders to maximize the value and applicability. And Dairy NZ is an industry-good organization helping New Zealand farmers lead the world in sustainable dairying. Over to Dr. Edwards for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So today I'm just going to talk about evolution of milking systems in New Zealand as an example of that's really driven productivity enhancements within our sector from a labour perspective, and just using that as an example to illustrate the innovation led by farmers and researchers and how they can work together. Just quickly, a bit about Dairy NZ. Dairy NZ is funded by all New Zealand dairy farmers via a compulsory levy, and our purpose is about progressing a positive future for New Zealand dairy farming, and we do this through research, development, extension and advocacy, and doing those things through partnerships and collaboration, including with the government. That levy, the farmers vote on that every 6 years, which keep us very focused on solving farmer challenges. Some background about New Zealand. We operate pasture-based systems, predominantly grazing all year round, and we focused on producing low-cost, high-quality milk. We're a small player in terms of global milk production, but we export the majority of our milk, which makes us a big player on a global dairy trade sense. Our farmers are paid for fat and protein, or a kilogram of milk solid, or MS, and our key performance indicator for our dairy systems is profit per hectare, because the area of land is our constraining factor. We calve in spring to align with the pasture growth curve, and so all of our herd, as a generalisation, calves in a 10-week block, so not all year round like many dairy systems around the world. And ultimately we aim for an intermediate level of production per cow, because if you push either side of that, then you end up increasing the costs, and we are all about efficiency. So just for context, we've had some large changes in our productivity from a labour perspective over the last 60 years is really what I'm going to focus on. So if you look at that orange line there, moving from about 50 cows per person through to 150 cows per person. So a tripling of our labour productivity and the corresponding increases in herd size that have occurred at the same time. Milking is the most time-consuming task for our farmers from that labour perspective, and so that change has been underpinned by a number of management and technological change that's been led by farmers, researchers through different dairy types and milking management and milking frequency. And so today I'm just going to talk through a few of those things to illustrate examples of farmer-led productivity enhancements. So the first was a farmer-led innovation, moving from the walk-through to a herringbone dairy type. Now, all dairy types, no matter what size or type they are, have a similar potential throughput in terms of the number of cows per cluster per hour that they can milk, but there's some big differences in the labour efficiency between them. The walk-through was, the milker was in a back-breaking position and very much focused on working through each individual cow one at a time. And the herringbone, the second design you can see there, allowed for grouping of tasks and so that they could be done in batches, and for the same sort of herd size led to a 3.5 hour time saving per day, moving from one dairy type to the other. What's more, we operate swing over herringbone, so in between those two rows of cows, you can see there in that herringbone design, there is a single row of clusters, and those clusters swing from one side while that row is being milked, and then they swing to the other while that row is changed over. Because of our block calving system and animals being in a similar stage of lactation, that means that swing over is a highly efficient design, and there's actually little to be gained from adding double ups, rapid exit or automatic cluster removers, which are common around the world, which offers a capital saving. And so there's such a clear value proposition for this innovation that there was rapid adoption, as you can see there. The next innovation was moving from that herringbone through to a rotary dairy, and the key thing that a rotary unlocks is the automation of cow loading and exiting. And in particular, if you remove, by automating it, automating the teat spraying and cluster removal in this system, that dairy type can be twice as efficient again as a herringbone dairy. And so both those innovations were designed by farmers. And what we've learned for the rotary dairy, the most efficient size is about that 44 to 60 bales, because that's the most efficient number of clusters that one person can handle in terms of the relationship between the speed that they can work and the milking time of cows. Now, the adoption of this technology has been more slower because it is a more expensive investment and it is suited to larger herds. So alongside that change in different dairy designs, there's also been an evolution of milking practices, where we've moved from a number of steps through stimulation, cluster attachment, removal, hand stripping and teat spraying to today, where we're very focused on attaching the cluster, obviously, and then removing the cluster and teat spray. And of course, as I've just mentioned, those last two steps can be automated. So some research, this was a researcher-led innovation, this one, where in 1958 there was a trial that looked at what value stimulation was providing to the farmers. And so at that stage there was a 33% yield increase from farmers applying that level of stimulation, which was a hangover from the days of hand milking, because that was applying stimulation. And so there were two recommendations that the industry gave to farmers through the 1960s. One, not to breed from the animals that were requiring a lot of stimulation. And secondly, they did some work looking at the sires that were being used through the artificial breeding programs, and realised that there was two groups of cows, of those bulls, where one group of them required a lot of stimulation and the other didn't, which indicated it was controlled by only a handful of genes probably. And so by using sires that did not require stimulation and not keeping replacement animals from those cows, by 20 years later in 1978, when that trial was repeated, there was no yield increase from stimulation, and subsequently farmers dropped that practice as a routine in their milking routines. Now, we do still, obviously from a hygiene perspective, if the udders are dirty, they still get cleaned, but that becomes a much more tactical exercise, because in our pasture-based systems in general, udders are naturally clean. Another researcher-led innovation was one about maximum milking time. And so naturally within any herd of cows, there's a distribution in how long those cows take to milk. And if you think back to that herringbone design where the cows are all in a row, essentially you are limited by the slowest milking cow. And so she is really a constraint or a limitation to improving the efficiency of that milking practice. And the same is true for rotary dairies, albeit to a more limited extent. And so research through the 2020s and 2000s and 2020s looked at what happens if you just remove the clusters off those slower milking cows, even though they haven't quite finished milking yet. And so that's, if you look at the red line, which is a cow that's had milked out as per normal, so 0, if you look at that x-axis, 0, the cluster being attached, you're getting milk flow, and then naturally the milk flow declines as she finishes milking. That's what it normally looks like. The blue line is one where that cow has had her cluster removed early, because she was a slow milker, at the previous milking. And so you can see at the end there, you're saving a lot of time, because she's got a hard deadline in terms of how long she's being allocated to milk. but you can also see that the shape of that flow curve changes, where you get a higher peak flow rate, and so the area under both of those curves are the same. And that's some quite counterintuitive results, but have been backed up by a number of research studies now, and we're starting to see farmers adopt this practice. And the conclusion there is if as long as no more than 20% of the herd are having their clusters removed early, then the same yield at a herd level can be achieved. The final innovation that I want to talk through is a one where farmers and researchers work together in collaboration. I really want to, highlight this, I think, as the leading way in which to be achieving innovation. And that was through a topic called flexible milking. And so typically our cows are milked twice per day, and this was looking at what happens if you reduce that milking frequency from twice a day to 3 times in 2 days. And you can see there what that looks like. It's like a 5 a.m. milking, a 3 p.m. milking, and then a 10 a.m. milking the next day before that cycle repeating. And that leads to a 25% reduction in the number of milkings, but it also starts creating variation in the time it takes to milk, which increases the pool of available people that could be working on our farms. So, for example, someone who has to drop the kids off at school at 9 a.m. and needs to pick them up again at 3 o'clock, now every second day there's a job for them that they could be doing on farm. And farmers were already using this practice in late lactation, and they were asking about what trade-offs there were to using it earlier in lactation. And so the scientists worked together to quantify what effect that was going to have in terms of milk production and body condition score, and those experimental results led to building confidence of a group of early adopters to adopt the practice, and the researchers to partner with and monitor how that went and solve the challenges that come up, those sort of unintended consequences or practical challenges, so that it can be refined for wider adoption for a much larger group of farmers. And we've seen significant change there in terms of the blue box at the top there, where the number of farmers milking full season twice a day has materially decreased over the last 5 years. So just in summary, farmers are innovators, and so farmer to farmer and farmer to researcher learning or knowledge sharing is really critical. There's a place for researcher-led innovation, but those researchers really need to take time to deeply understand farmer challenges and solve those right problems. And the best results there are where farmers and researchers work together in partnership. And a final remark to leave you with is not to take things at face value and continue to ask challenging questions. And so example there being the value of cluster removers, there being a significant difference between the value in a herringbone and a rotary. Larger is not always better in terms of rotary design, and like I talked about the max milking time there, the ability to remove clusters off slow milking cows without affecting yield, and how researchers have built that confidence up to give them farmers confidence to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards. This was very eye-opening for us, how to put the researcher and the farmer together so that they solve problems together. It's pretty amazing. Thank you so much. I now request Dr. Jirasak Chopdang from the Department of Livestock Development, Thailand.
Quickly introducing our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jirasak Chopdang, Senior Animal Husbandry Officer from the Department of Livestock Development, Thailand. Dr. Jirasak has 20 years of experience in ruminant nutrition research and development, and is a key driver in private-public cooperation to improve dairy nutrition innovation. Please welcome Dr. Jirasak Chopdang for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening. Sorry, good afternoon. Today I'm going to share with you the what we have implemented in Thai environments of dairy farming. So in Thailand, we also have a small-scale dairy farm systems, just like in India, maybe. So before I jump into the detail, I would like to give you a rough characteristic of dairy farming in Thailand. So if you have a look in the slides, there are blue and the orange pie charts. So these two are considered to be a small-scale dairy farmers. So of 13,000 2,000 dairy farms in Thailand, more than 95% are considered as small-scale farmers, where they have about 25 milking cows per farm on average. Yes, nutritional challenges I think it's anywhere in the world, especially in the tropical regions, including in Thailand. Meanwhile, dairy cattle demand a very high quality rations to support the genetic performance and milking productivities. In contrast, in tropicals, the tropical forests are usually low in qualities. And fortunately, there are a few varieties of forest crops that are high qualities, where when we manage properly, when we apply the base farming practice. And over the past few years, we have, in Thailand, we have very critical issues associated with the dairy farming, where the price of concentrate feeds is increasing. In Thailand, we usually use rice straws, which is very low qualities, and then we fulfill the nutrients by using more concentrate feed. But now, because there are many conflicts around the world, and then this makes the cost price of the concentrate feed increasing, and that makes the farmer cannot use much more concentrate feed in their rations. And because they are small-scale farmers, then they have no land to produce their own forage. That is the first issue. And the second issue is again, because they are small-scale farmers, they have less opportunity to access the modern technologies associated with the feeding dairy cows. So to tackle these two critical issues, the governments, through the Department of Livestock Development, or DLD in Thailand, have launched the programs, the projects called the Model Pool projects, where the government buy a set of agricultural heavy machines to produce crops and to produce quality rations. So of this, the government also established new groups of the crop farmers by transform the rice farmers and other crops farmers into the forest farmers. So the government also lend them the machines to produce high quality forest crops. And at the same time, the government also mandated the extension officers to train the farmers to know how to produce high quality forest. And also, we also mandate our mechanic to train the farmer how to use the heavy machines. And for the dairy farmers, we encourage them to use better nutrient balance rations by lending them, for example, total mixed rations mixing machines. And at the same time, we also mandate our men to train the farmer to use TMR, for example, for feeding the cows. We also match this group of farmers to do a business. So the crop farmers have a contract with the dairy farmers. Then they produce and sell and buy, and then they get profit. The outcome we get, there can be two different groups of farmers. The crop farmers can get more income from selling their forest products. So it's going to be up to $2,000 per hectare so far. And the farmers, a group of farmers are strengthened because they are working in groups, and there's a very strong network. And at the same time, they can have a plan to produce the crops throughout the years. For the farmers, the milk yield increased by about 50%. Meanwhile, the milk quality increased about 2%. In contrast, the feed cost production per kilograms of milk is reduced by about 9%. Again, there are also emerging issues of implementing these programs. The major issue of implementing this program is about the benefit cost of the programs. It's just as low as 1.1, so it's just very small. And now we know that why the benefit cost is very small. This is because the machines using efficiency is still very low. The root cause of this low benefit cost it could be from two topics. One is about the inappropriate lending terms. We lend the machine to the farmers 60 days per times, but they sometimes use only 1 or 2 weeks, and then they just leave the machines unworking. And then the second topic is about the long distance between farms to farm locations. And for example, when they finish using machines, and the transportation of the machines to the other farms is very distant, so it costs a lot. So the farmer don't want to invest in that transportation cost. To be conclude, at this moment, I think the availabilities and accessibility of feed and improvement in nutrients balance rations can benefit both crops and dairy farmers in Thailand. And the next issue to be resolved is how to the practice to maximize use efficiency of the machines. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Choptang. It was a beautiful example of how public intervention can bring groups together to give a better result for everyone. And I'll have a couple of questions for you later, maybe offline. Thank you so much. I now invite Dr. Abhijit Gurjar, Director, Global Commercial Development, Zoetis.
Quickly introducing our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Abhijit Gurjar, Director of Global Commercial Development at Zoetis. He is a trained veterinarian from India with an MVSE and a PhD in pathobiology from Pennsylvania University and postdoctoral training at the University of Pittsburgh, and later served as a milk scientist at Quality Milk Production Services, Cornell University. He has over 12 years of experience in animal health and life sciences industries. Please welcome Dr. Gurjar. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Government of India, IDF, National Dairy Development Board, and the organizing committee for organizing this first regional dairy conference. This is really exciting times we are in. My topic today, going to talk about revolutionizing dairy farming in Asia Pacific with farmer-centric innovations and interventions for productivity enhancement. We have seen, experienced it so far, that dairy farming, it holds a substantial significance in the Asia Pacific region. We have heard from our dignitaries in the morning how crucial dairy farming is to India. It's more than just farming. It is an emotion, as one of the dignitaries said, and you can't deny that. It is an emotion. And it has multifaceted contribution. We look at economic impact, the critical sector generating substantial revenue for the dairy farmers and the family and the community. The livelihood, it supports millions of smallholder farms, employment, and food security. And what we are seeing is a surge in dairy consumption. We look at milk, but also the value-added products. And what we need are the right tools and the knowledge for meeting this surge in dairy production, but also the increase in demand for this milk products. So farmer-centric innovations are going to be critical for this thriving dairy sector across this region. It's a booming dairy landscape in Asia, and we in the Asia and India specifically are the leaders in milk production. And it is going to surge, it is going to grow. and there is a clear upward trend in milk production, as we have seen by increasing the demand, but also increasing disposable income and the growing urban population. With this increasing demand, it presents a very significant opportunity for the region's dairy farmers to expand their operations, to contribute significantly to this regional food security. What are the challenges are faced by the dairy farmers in the region? Small herd sizes that we talked about, the fragmented dairy segment, access to financing, that is one of the key challenges. There is also knowledge gap. As the industry is growing, as the demand is increasing, there is what we find is the knowledge gap. That is a serious challenge we face. And finally, the price fluctuations and dependence on the middlemen that can negatively impact the farmer's ability for profitability. The low productivity of some of the breeds, it hampers their ability to maximize the output and the profitability. There is a high production cost associated with the feeding, the labor, the healthcare cost that has put a financial strain on the producers. We cannot ignore the environmental issues. As we think about sustainability, as we think about the climate, there are environmental issues such as the waste management, greenhouse gas, that presents the sustainability concerns. And additionally, the access or the limited access, one can say, to the technology and the financial services. So farmer-centric innovation is that catalyst for success. Keeping the farmers in the center, keeping the focus on the farmer is going to be the key that we can effectively meet these challenges which I mentioned earlier. The innovative solutions should be focused addressing the specific needs of the region's farmers. What are their needs? What are their concerns? Whenever we think about solutions, whenever we think about introducing new solutions, we should keep that in mind. It should be cost-effective, readily available, and easily integrated into their existing practices. The first one, what we think about is precision in dairy farming. We talk about AI. That is coming up in dairy farming as well. We see a lot of precision tools such as the wearables in the dairy segment, what we can call the Fitbits or the Apple Watch for the dairy cows, the tags that can monitor the health and provide key insights which can help the farmers take actionable insights. That is the key here. We just don't want plethora of data coming through. What the farmers are really looking for are the actionable insights which they can work on to improve the productivity. There are multiple examples across the region, across the Asia-Pacific region, where there is a use of drones to identify the animals, where there is a use of GPS technology to find the right areas if it is a pasture-raised system. So there are ways that we can introduce this precision dairy farming for improving productivity. The next one, which is again an important one, is the use of genetics. There are tools which are available like Clarified Plus, which can help identify and select that right cow, that right calf for propagating the herd. What the farmers can really benefit from is choosing the cow which has low resistance to antimicrobials, which is less susceptible to diseases, which have high tolerance to heat. That's the key one that can help address the productivity concerns. By selecting and breeding animals which are less genetically susceptible to health events, we can, one, decrease the disease, reduce the milk discard, reduce the labor cost and the vet bills, and also reduce the low replacement cost. Sustainability and profitability. You have heard this many times. Sustainability, that's the word which is going around. But you can have both. It goes hand in hand. It is becoming a focal point. We know the challenges we have as a climate change discussions are happening, and there is a talk of how agriculture can help reduce that. And dairy farming is one area which I honestly believe introducing the right tools, whether it is choosing the right antibiotic that can prevent antimicrobial resistance, treating the right animal that can prevent the extra expense, keeping that animal healthy will help not only meet the productivity, but also address the sustainability discussions around. Because better sustainability doesn't have to compromise profitability. Long-lived cows are low cost to the farm and the planet, and better welfare doesn't have to compromise efficiency. Finance systems in place, microsystem, microfinance can also help producers focus on innovation and bringing them the tools that can help them increase the productivity of the animals. Training and education programs for dairy farmers, it's very critical. I come from a school of thought that the research that is happening in the lab has to translate to the farm. That's where both parties win. And training and education programs, by improving the capacity building of those farms, by increasing the awareness and understanding of the technology which we are going to offer to them, by networking and knowledge sharing. Events like this are very critical so that the knowledge sharing happens between the researchers, between the industry stakeholders, between the farmers, and they can present and interact. And empowerment, women empowerment, the empowerment of the farmers with the right tool set is going to be very critical when we think about farmer-centric innovation and increasing the productivity and the profitability. Multi-stakeholder approach is going to be key for the sustainable growth. I talked about innovation through genetics, innovation through the right drugs, right vaccine, innovation through right precision animal tools, finance system, but it has to be a multi-stakeholder approach that is going to be critical to maintain and sustain growth for the region. And finally, I would like, it's happening. It is not something that it's only in theory. It is happening. There are great examples across this region. The first that come to mind is the example from India, from Amul, from NDDB, which have played a pivotal role in organizing this small-scale dairy farmers into producer groups, providing access to markets, credits, and extension services. In Japan, there is a high-tech dairy farming facilities, includes high-tech technologies. Dairy Australia in collaboration with Research Institute, and then research institutions like Dairy New Zealand. These are the key examples that we can look up to and adapt in our own regions to improve and have a win-win situation for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gurjar. I now invite Dr. Bhushan Tyagi.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, Dr. Bhushan Tyagi, Joint Commissioner of the Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. He has been instrumental in formulating and implementing important schemes of the government like National Project for Cattle, Buffalo Breeding, Rashtriya Gokul Mission, etc. He has also formulated guidelines for import-export of bovine, germplasm, minimum standard protocols for semen production, embryo production, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Tyagi for his presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon to all of you. Respected Secretary Madam, respected Vaisha Ma'am, Chairman Sir. I will give some light on the programs, Farmer-centric program being implemented or was implemented earlier. The important program which we have initiated, first we will look at what is the role of the animal husbandry sector in the rural economy. If you look at this, there is contribution of livestock sector. If we see the value of output of the livestock sector, it is more than 17 trillion INR. If you look at the value of output of the milk, it is more than 11.16 trillion INR. If we see the contribution to the total GVA, the total contribution of the livestock sector is around 5.5%, which was earlier in 13-14 up to 4%. Now I will go to some of the programs, how our dairy progresses. We are the largest producer of milk since 1998. If we look at the growth in the milk production, in the last 9 years, we are growing at the rate of more than 6%, whereas world milk production is growing at the rate of 2.2% only. If we see the growth in the population, there is no growth in the population since 2001. Cattle population and the buffalo population is almost stagnant. In the last livestock census, the population growth was only 0.86%, whereas there is a tremendous growth in the animals in milk, and animals in milk has grown by more than 26% in the last census. This indicates that more and more unproductive animals are coming out of the system and the productive animals are coming into the system. If you look at number of the schemes being initiated, farmer-centric programs were initiated by Government of India. The first such program was Key Village Scheme, which was initiated in 1950 to organize animal husbandry sector in scientific manner and to enhance production and productivity of cattle and buffaloes in the country, because there was a huge demand of milk in the country at that time. Another program which was initiated in 1964 was Intensive Cattle Development Program. And in this program, for the first time in the country, we have organized artificial insemination program. Our artificial insemination program was made available to our farmers. At the time, liquid semen was used in that area. Then we have Operation Flood Program, which was implemented up to 1996. In the World Bank report, if we see that, with an investment of 2,000 million, the output of that program was 240 billion. That is, with the investment of rupee 120 rupees was generated during the Operation Flood program. This is a tremendous program being implemented by the Dairy Federation's National Dairy Development Board. In the 8th five-year plan, we had initiated extension of frozen semen technology. Frozen semen technology was there, and Government of India implemented the extension of frozen semen technology program, assistance made available to the state for procurement of very good quality of bulls, and the strengthening of the semen stations. AI network, the field AI network was established at that time. That is, continuously development of the field AI network were taken place during the extension of frozen semen technology. In that period, we had also initiated National Bull Production Program in order to implement a progeny testing program so that quality of bulls improved and quality of AI services delivered at the made available to our farmers. Another important program which was initiated in October 2000 was National Project for Cattle and Buffalo Breeding. This project was continued up to 2013 and 2014. In this program, we had also initiated massive program for development of the indigenous breed as well, and increasing productivity of the animals, especially cattle and buffaloes, are covered under this program. In this program, for the first time, we had established state livestock development boards, and the state livestock development boards are to undertake this program in the scientific manner because earlier programs were being implemented by the Department of Animal Husbandry. For the first time, livestock development boards were created to implement the breeding programs in the country, and most of the assets like semen stations, important cattle breeding farms were transferred to the State Livestock Development Board. And the system was adopted from the system which was going on in Kerala. The Kerala was the first livestock development board established in the country in 1975. After that, National Dairy Plan was initiated in 2012, and looking towards the progress of the National Dairy Plan, Rashtriya Gokul Mission for the first time was initiated in the country for development and conservation of indigenous breed. The focus of the program was oriented towards the development and conservation of indigenous breed. In addition to it, the enhancement of the milk production, productivity of all the bovines in the country, including the crossbred animal as well. With these programs, there was a tremendous increase in the milk production as well as the productivity of the animals. Up to 2013-14, milk production was increasing at the rate of 4.5%. Now, since the implementation of Rashtriya Gokul Mission and the National Dairy Plan, the growth rate in the milk production is increased to 6% annually, and now milk production is growing at the rate of 6%. If we see the per capita availability, same is the growth in the per capita availability of milk. It is now 450 grams per person per day. How the productivity is increasing in the different countries and what is the difference between the productivity gain in India. If you look at the productivity gain in India is highest in terms of in the world. And we have surpassed other major dairy nations in the productivity gain. However, the productivity is still low in comparison to the developed dairy nation. Our productivity is 2,079 kgs in comparison to a world average of 2,600, 2,700 kgs. Similarly, average milk yield gain in indigenous breed is more in comparison to other breeds or other category of animals available in India. In buffaloes, it is also very good among the non-descript buffalo population. Now I will come in detail about the present program, Rashtriya Gokul Mission. This is a massive program to make technology accessible to our farmers. Earlier, we had implemented the program, we had created the infrastructure for the semen station, but we are not taking up the technology and making it accessible to our farmers. In this program, large number of technologies were taken up, like IVF. For the first time, IVF is being promoted, and we have established 22 IVF labs in the country. And more than 21,000 embryos have been produced, more than 2,000 calves born out of this IVF technology. The IVF technology is now being made available at the farmer's doorstep, and this is the technology which can bring changes in the livestock sector in this country. The work which is done in 7 generations, because in 7 generations we can change the genotype of the animal. The work by the IVF technology can be done in a single generation of 3 years. This technology can make a lot of differences in the country if it is adopted by the farmers, and several steps are being undertaken under the scheme for adoption of the technology, for promotion of the technology among the farmers, and to produce very good quality of calf using this technology, and these calves to be made available to our farmers. Another important technology which has been initiated under this program is the sex-sorted semen production. Sex-sorted semen production was available only with 2 multinational companies. Both are in US, and this technology was not available for the production of sex-sorted semen of indigenous breeds. The technology is now available at 5 government semen stations and 3 semen stations with cooperative, private, and other sector. And good quantity of sex-sorted semen have already been produced in the country. More than 1 crore semen doses have been produced so far, which has been distributed among the farmers. With the sex-sorted semen, we can increase number of the female calves. With the increase in number of the female calves, we are increasing our farmers' income. Another important aspect of this program is to enhance AI coverage. AI coverage in 14-15 was stagnant to only 30% of the breedable bovine females. In order to enhance the AI coverage, nationwide AI program was initiated. Artificial insemination is being made available because it is very important to make available artificial insemination at the farmer's doorstep. And if artificial insemination is not made available at the farmer's doorstep, the conception rate will be very low. In order to make available artificial insemination services at the farmer doorstep, nationwide AI program was initiated under Rashtriya Gokul Mission, and AI services are delivered free of cost at the farmer's doorstep under the program. So far, more than 4 crores farmers have been benefited, and more than 8 crores artificial inseminations performed under the program, and about 7 crore animals have been covered so far. Another technology which has been taken up under this program is genomic testing. The genomic chip have been developed, and with the use of the common genomic chip, we will select the animals at a very younger age, which has been done by the developed dairy nation. This will increase tremendously the genetic gain among our population. This is about the impact created by this program. Progeny testing program being implemented in the country. More than 4,000 bulls have already been made available, progeny tested bulls, to the semen stations. When we started this program, bulls available, only 20% of the bulls available at our semen stations are produced through organized breeding program. Now around 40 to 50% of the bulls are produced through the organized breeding program, which are making changes in our population. This is regarding the National Digital Mission. This complete digital ecosystem for the livestock has been developed under this, and this is world's largest animal identification and traceability program ever done by any country of the world. The livestock farmers have already adopted this program, and more than 36 crore transactions have already been made under the National Digital Livestock Mission. Some of the programs are also there, like in the National Livestock Mission, we are undertaking the breed development program, especially for the sheep, goat, and pigs.
Bhushanji, I think you'll have to wrap up.
Thank you.
Great, you're done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Bhushan. I think the scale of the presentation just shows how different it is to do things in India. The scale at which one has to think the challenges are so huge, but still it is the central government, the state government, and all the stakeholders who have come together. The role of NDDB has been huge in putting all these inputs together and making sure they reach the farmer. And as you can see, this is very much a work in progress, and everything we learn from all of you here is something that we hope to replicate within our own systems. I now request Mr. Rahul Kumar, Chief Operating Officer, Parag Dairy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rahul Kumar, Chief Operating Officer of Parag Milk Foods, which is known for brands Govardhan Ghee and Go Cheese. Prior to that, he was the CEO of Lactalis India, managing 3 companies, Tirumala, Anik, and Prabhat. He has also worked as MD of Amul Dairy for 11 years. Mr. Rahul Kumar has versatile experience of 32 years in the Indian dairy industry. Please welcome Mr. Rahul Kumar for his presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. I will be very quick because I know there's a paucity of time. So I'll be quicking a lot of slides from my presentation. Today we are going to discuss, a very important topic, whether the large-scale dairy farms, what is the opportunities and challenges in the developing countries like India. Just to see that, I'm not going to repeat the figures, but this is the most interesting and most successful graph, I would say, in the world of any agri-commodity, whatever world has seen in last 50 years. My point is that this achievement has been by the only small farms. In India, about 90 million farmers are engaged in this kind of activity. So we can say about 90 million farms are there. So whatever we have achieved, it is because of the small dairy farms. But now we have to see whether this can continue, what kind of demand we are going to have in India for next 10 years, 20 years for milk, whether the same system can continue or we have to little bit tweak this or we have to modify this. And that is the purpose of understanding whether we can really modify our present model of small dairy farm. As we see that by 2030, we need about 300 million metric ton of milk. And so we can say that in next 6 years, we need about 60 million metric ton of milk. I would say that 50% of that should come from the bigger farm. And when I say bigger farm, it's not a mega farm of 3,000 cattle or 5,000 cattle. It should be bigger than what we have today. I can see that, in Indian dairy, when we have a small farm, there are some, we have 2 or 4 milk animals. We have low input, low output system. That is the major problem in our Indian dairy system, where with the small farm, we have low input and low output. So there is a lot of wastages of resources, which we cannot afford. So what I suggest that we should have medium-sized farm, like from 20 to 50 cattle, which is, I think, more relevant, more efficient, and will be more economical also in terms of the cost of milk production. And it can also be attached with the BMC and biogas plant. So this is also very important. I'm not going to repeat this, but basically it is very, very important. We are producing 25% of the global milk. People say that after 10, 15 years, we are going to produce around 30% of the global milk production. It cannot happen unless we change a little bit our production system model. But this is very important that this model is very relevant, because it's a consistent source of income for rural poor, landless farmers, what India has, and it also leads to women empowerment. We have demonstrated that small farm system has excellent supply chain, which has been developed by Amul model and replicated by private and other cooperatives. So we have a very big success story in terms of a small production system. But it has a poor efficiency, low yield, poor AI coverage we have. We have lack of trained technician for this thing. Our AI coverage is not more than 30%. So this is also very, very, difficult thing as far as, efficiency of the small farms. We don't have a quality, there is a problem of quality in small farms in terms of, antibiotics, in terms of bacterial count, in terms of aflatoxins, and other issues are there. We have a problem of traceability because it's such a huge scattered system, so that we have a problem. Cost of production is also very high because of the efficiencies. Middlemen are there, so that, we have a problem in terms of, giving the right price to the farmers, and then we have adulteration issue. So we have to understand whether this model is sufficient to meet the future demand or not. I think we have to change our model little bit, not fully, but little bit. So what are the other options? If we compare small versus large, small farms are relevant in Indian situation. There's no doubt about it, because we have very poor land holding. Average land holding is less than 1.65 acres per farmer. So it is very poor. So we don't have possibility to have very large farms because there is no land. We need a lot of land for fodder and all. We have low productivity, so we need improvement. So we can increase some, number of cattle in the farm with the better productivity. Adaptation of technology in managing breeding, feed management and cost of production. This is, a problem in small farm. And we have to understand that we have to upscale the size, and we do some automation, which can do less labor and reduce the cost. And large farms, what I suggest is that, we should have size from 50 to 200. So when people have 5 cattle, 10 cattle, they can upgrade to 20 cattle, and then after that, if they have land and they have resources, it can be up to 200 cattle also. So what I mean to say that there is a possibility that Indian dairy farmers can go into the little bit bigger farms from 50 to 200. And we can have milking parlor, so that, one labor can take care of a lot of animals, TMR, high yielding breed, and all these things can be done. So we need to have hybrid system, 80% traditional model. So India, whatever milk we are going to have, 80% can come from the traditional model of small farms, and after that 20% should come from the bigger farms. I will like to share one success story of very large farm which my company Parag has done. It's a case study of Bhaglakshmi farm in India, which is near Pune. This is India's biggest commercial dairy farm, which has state-of-the-art technology. It also has 3,500 HF cows, which is, and this farm was established in 2006. So we can say that it is continuing and it is making profits. So, but what I mean to say, there is a success story of this mega farm also. And we have 100% control on feeding. We have about 2,500 acres of fodder cultivation, which is done by very, very, world standard scientific methods for crop cultivation. And there is a continuous improvement in yield. I will tell you the yield figure also. And we are going to expand the farm in another location with 4 times. like the next farm will be around 12,000 cows. So it's not impossible to even operate this kind of mega farm also in India. And we also do, dairy tourism out of that. So this is also one of the attraction point of large dairy farms. I'm not going to a lot of details, but we had 10 to 11 liters per day milk production in 2006. Now it is 20 to 25 liters, and a lot of new technology is being used. I will just skip this slide. This is what I wanted to give the message, that for the large commercial farm, the front-end value addition is also very important. So there is a very niche market for the, there is a brand of Pride of Cows, which is a very, very premium milk which we are selling from this farm in more than 7 cities in India. And their value addition is almost 100%. The cost of milk, price of milk for 1 liter bottle for the Pride of Cows is about 125 rupees a liter. But it has its own, its own clientele. So we sell as a single origin milk. So there is a possibility to position that milk as a premium product, and we can make the farms viable. It is antibiotic toxin-free milk. It's a direct to consumer. Only through dedicated apps it is sold, so there is no middleman, there is no chance of adulteration. And we also expand the portfolio, so we are making Pride of Cow curd and then paneer as well as ghee also. Coming to the point, commercial farm challenges, we have a scalability problem. So we need to have slowly from 10, 20 to 50, 200, 200 to 500, and maybe some farms can be up to 1,000 also. And resources and feed and land, we have to do it properly, what our farm Pride of Cows has demonstrated. It is high capex, high operating costs, but yield improvement is crucial. So in our Pride of Cows farm, Bhaglakshmi farm, average yield is 26 liter herd average. And some of the cows are more than 35 to 40 liters, about out of 3,500, 600 cows are more than 35 to 40 liters. Government support is not there in large scale farm, so perhaps that should also be given, not for the very large farm, but 20, 30, 40, 50 number of farm. Opportunities are there. We can see that we have a premium quality milk, ingredient for, this can be ingredient for pharma and baby food, and a lot of opportunities are there, including export. So this is what we can do that. To conclude, small farms will be continuing. I am not saying that we are overnight we are going to change all the small farms to large farm, but there is a possibility of upgrading the number of number of animals in the farm. India needs to upgrade on bigger farms, 20 to 500. This is what government policies to be supported in investment of infrastructure, milking parlor, etc., which will help the entrepreneur to go for the bigger farm. And export market is important, and I am quite sure the kind of quality you get from the bigger farm, export market can be tapped, which can really stabilize the market in Indian this thing. And integration of large farm with centralized dairy plant can be done. So this is what I would suggest, that we need a hybrid model to give this, to have extra milk what India needs. This is what I suggest. We cannot have very large farm of 3,500, although we have demonstrated one successful story for that, but it can be 10, 20 farms like that. But there are farms which are doing like that, like Sharda farm, Siddh farm and all these things. Still some kind of startups are coming on that. So let's upgrade our present size of the farm and really get the blend of the small farms and large farms. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rahulji. That was, I think, a call for action for the private sector in how they can aspire more and achieve more. And I assure you, Rahulji, it is not that the Department of Animal Husbandry is not entirely supportive. We do have some schemes now, and we can talk more about that offline. Thank you so much. I now call upon Dr. Rajiv Krishnan, Executive Director, NDDB Dairy Services.
Ladies and gentlemen, our final speaker, Dr. Rajiv Krishnan, Executive Director of NDDB Dairy Services. He has done his PG Diploma in Agri-Business Management from IIM Ahmedabad and a post-graduation in Veterinary Pathology. He has more than 2 decades of experience with NDDB Dairy Services, PricewaterhouseCoopers and Kerala Livestock Development Board. Thank you.
I'll be talking about the field implementation of farmer-centric interventions. So we at NDDB Dairy Services, we have implemented many of these farmer-centric interventions, our learning from these kind of implementations, and how do we go about successfully implementing these kind of interventions. So first we start like, why do we need these kind of interventions? The reason is quite obvious. The average milk yield in India compared to dairy developed countries, the gap is quite huge. And what does working on productivity, how does it impact us? So definitely increasing the profitability for the farmer has a social impact. But other than the social impact, efficient use of scarce resources, particularly feed and water, will help us reduce the environmental impact we have. Milk being a vital source of nutrition in this country, if you are able to have a stable and increased milk supply, definitely is going to contribute to the food security. And increased milk productivity definitely helps milk processors because it helps them ensure, achieve economies of scale, bring in supply chain efficiencies, and also protects them from the supply side risks of shortages. The government of India has been now increasingly the focus is on income enhancement rather than solely talking about productivity enhancement. So we therefore not only need to improve the efficacies in productivity and bring down the cost of production, but we also need to have effective monetization of the farm produce. Therefore, the first and foremost intervention which is required is to have a direct connect between the farmer and the milk processor. The rest of the interventions I have broadly grouped into two: production enhancing interventions and efficiency improving interventions. Production enhancing interventions include giving a balanced diet, improved fodder, nutrient-rich feed, or to reduce the calving interval, producing next generation good quality offsprings using either artificial insemination or embryo transfer, regular health checkups for the animals, vaccination, deworming, parasite controls, and all this. As far as the efficiency improving interventions are concerned, setting up demonstration farms for the farmers, regular trainings for the farmers, strengthening of the extension services, using the cow dung and the other farm waste available to produce biogas and organic fertilizer. This is an additional source of income for the farmer. Farmers can also benefit from if low interest loans can be arranged to them, and insurances covering particularly production risk as well as the reproduction risk are available. Technological advancements in terms of milking machine. Recently now we have IoT devices for optimizing the feeding, breeding, and health of the animal. So these are the income enhancement interventions we are looking at. As I told earlier, at NDDB Dairy Services, we have been implementing many of these interventions. I'll just run through what we have done. So we have facilitated around 22 milk producer companies in the country. And these companies in turn have set up retail market points which provide market access and fair price to the farmers. We have also deployed AI technicians across the country who are giving AI services to the farmers. We are also implementing this assured pregnancies through embryo transfer, which is a Government of India program under Rashtriya Gokul Mission. This is a unique program because we have almost been establishing 600 pregnancies annually, and that too in a smallholder setup. We are involved in cement production, producing close to 50 million doses annually. Almost 40% of the country's AI is being carried out using the cement doses produced in our cement stations. Considering the fact that ensuring a female calf provides significant financial advantage to the farmer, we are now also into promoting sex-sorted cement doses. And last year, close to 70,000 AIs we have carried out using sorted cement. We are facilitating induction of high genetic merit cattle and buffalo. And the producer companies which we have set, they are also into making available cattle feed and area-specific mineral mixture to the farmers. Now we have ventured into manufacturing of cattle feed, and we plan to supply close to 1.25 lakh metric ton of cattle feed by the financial year ending 25-26. To meet the requirements of fodder 12 fodder plus FPOs have been established, and these farmer producer organizations are supplying green fodder, silage and dry fodder to the dairy farmers. We had trained small producers in optimizing their diet for the milch animals. This was started with local resource persons, and subsequently we moved from a manpower-based extension to an ICT-based extension. To reduce the use of antibiotics in milch animals, we are testing the animals regularly for California, using California mastitis test, and the animals which are found positive, they are treated with low-cost interventions like either trisodium citrate or using ethno-veterinary medicines, which I think John also was talking about. We are piloted with an NGO to start providing mobile health services. This pilot was quite successful, and we plan to scale it up to other regions also. We have set up micro-training centers. These micro-training centers essentially are farmers who have adopted scientific animal health management practices. And we are mobilizing farmers from the adjoining villages to these farms, wherein the farm management practices are demonstrated to these farmers. India has now established 3 training centers, primarily to train dairy extension workers, so that they can in turn provide effective guidance to farmers on the production enhancement practices. Balloon digester-based biogas plants are promoted so that the dependency of the farmers on the traditional energy sources is reduced. We have been able to connect the farmers to financial institutions, and credit has been extended to them, primarily for them to help them in purchase of animals. We are also promoting the use of this cow monitoring system, and so that the animals, for effective management of the health as well as the reproduction of those animals. These are some pictures of the cow collars which we have deployed. Close to more than 6,000 as of date we have deployed. Based on our experience, we have tried to identify certain factors as to why there is a low adoption of these interventions in the country. At the core of it, it is primarily the lack of awareness. Due to lack of training facilities for training farmers on these advanced interventions. But despite farmer being made aware, in the absence of continuous guidance and support, the farmer is risk averse to experiment with these new practices and tries to persist with these traditional practices. Then there are certain structural issues like poor rural infrastructure, particularly related to road, water, electricity, and also most of the farmers are quite, there's a resource scarcity with the farmers in terms of availability of fodder, access to veterinary services. And when we are talking about small marginal farmers, the financial constraint is again a big challenge. And if the intervention we are talking about requires high initial cost, and he lacks an access to credit, then the adoption of the intervention is again a big challenge for him. Two of the main critical factors which need to be considered is if there is a fluctuating milk price and the farmer doesn't have an assured market access, no farmer will ever adopt any of the productivity enhancement intervention. So this is a very primary kind of requirement for the farmer to adopt any kind of productivity enhancement intervention. Second thing is there is a differing priorities, because the milk processors are mainly focusing on maximizing their production, improving the quality, whereas the farmers are looking at immediate benefits and minimizing their risk. Now the risk is twofold here. Risk not only in terms of the investment that the farmer has to make in adopting these kind of interventions, but also the market risk because of the increased production which comes in. So these are the risks which a farmer considers before getting into this production enhancement interventions. I'll just run through it's like for any successful implementation of productivity enhancement intervention, not only it has to be well designed, there is a proper execution is also required on the ground. So some of the steps I've just outlined for a successful implementation of a productivity enhancement intervention. As I told, it has to start with creating milk collection centers in the vicinity of the farmer community. This has to be the first step. Second is you build supply chains for cattle feed, fodder, and air delivery services. Involving the farmers in the implementation process is quite critical so that we understand the challenges the farmer faces and we make tailor our intervention accordingly. And regular meetings, subsequent regular meetings between the implementing agency and the farmer is also essential so that a trust is built between the farmer and the implementing agency. Regular training programs for the farmers, enhancing the extension worker capacity through training programs, and also using mobile apps, SMSs, or online platforms for dissemination of knowledge. These are going to help in the promotion of the services. Third thing, most important, is to connect the farmer with the financial institution so that credit, low interest loans, working capital is made available to the farmer. The farmer also needs to be educated about the various insurance products available, and probably if we can simplify the enrollment process for the farmer, it's much more benefit for the farmer. Regular visits, field visits for monitoring of the program, and whenever we go to the field, we do have an interaction with the farmer to get the feedback about the program, and based on this feedback, adapt your intervention. Is a key for a successful implementation of the intervention. And if you are able to implement it in a small region, then you scale it up, increase the regions where you are implementing it. Post-implementation, definitely we need to create, we need to organize workshops, seminars like this, have a platform so that there is an exchange of knowledge between the different players.
Right, I think we need to
I'll just
close it.
conclude.
That's
I'll
the
just
time.
conclude,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. I think we have understood the point you're trying to make, which is mainly that if you want to make it happen at the field level, you have to support the farmer at every single step from the beginning to the end, and everything starts with the milk price is guaranteed. I think that is the main message. Thank you, Dr. Rajiv Krishnan. So we are now through with our presentations, and I now call upon Mr. Michel van Erkel, Agricultural Councillor, Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, for his remarks.
Yeah, and I'll keep it really short. Just a few remarks based also on the presentations this morning in this panel. So the Netherlands, for those who don't know the Netherlands, it's approximately the size of Kerala, but just 17.7 million people living there, out of which only 0.2 million are farmers. So it's only 2% of our population is in farming, a very small one. Dairy farming, we're talking about 0.4% of the population. An average farm is 100 cows with an average yield of 8,900, 10,000, depending on how good the farmer is. Talking about farmer-centric, I think I would like to stress something which was repeated by several of the speakers, but I want to stress the importance of this. And that's the importance of training, of vocational education of the farmers. If I look at the Dutch farmers, they will have definitely a higher vocational training. Some of them will have a bachelor or an MBA, and still they would be farmers. Without that, I don't think that innovation, adaptation is possible. And I should also think, maybe a remark, that what we've seen in the Netherlands, of course, and that's why we have so little people working in agriculture, is that with modernization, I mean, in the Netherlands, 100 cows that's 2 people working there. It will mean that you will have less people working in dairy actually if you start to modernize and innovate. So you will need to create more jobs in this value chain around it. And I think that's the interesting part, the challenge to do here. I also think, and this is something I took from a seminar that I had 2 days ago on whey and lactose. The Indian speakers there said, yeah, before India is self-sufficient in whey and lactose, it will take, let's say 5 years, maybe 10 years, but it will take time. Until then, India will still be dependent quite often of imports from abroad. I think it's very important to continue discussions on market access for products from third countries. Also to open markets in the near future for Indian dairy products to Europe, to the US and other countries. So I think that's one of the remarks that I would like to make. I would also like to thank, of course, the organizers, thank them for offering me this platform. And I'm looking forward to it. I just had commissioned a report on the dairy sector in India from ICRISAT. We will be launching that shortly. I think that a lot of the figures that I heard today already will be back. I've seen the first draft, it looks great. And we will be continuing to work on creating a sustainable, healthy, environmentally friendly and productive, especially for the farmers, dairy sector here in India. Thank you, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Van Erkel. I think Netherlands has always been a very precious partner in India's dairy journey, and we're looking forward to moving that partnership to the next step. And it's very nice to hear you talk about the possibilities of dairy exports to Europe, because that is something that we're all working towards. Thank you. We have around 2-3 minutes for questions, so please, if you'd like to, please raise your hand if you have a question. And I hope there's someone to take a mic to the audience. In the audience, is there a mic? There is? Okay, yes. So anyone who has questions, could you please raise your hand? Right.
Respected Chairman साहब, ये लंपी डिजीज आई पूरे देश में, गायों में लंपी डिजीज, तो अभी भी हम गोट पॉक्स से काम चलाएंगे, कब तक चलाएंगे? जब हम चांद पे पहुंच गए तो काउ पॉक्स भी तो डेवलप करके उसको लार्ज स्केल पे कब डेवलप करेंगे अपन? नंबर 1. नंबर 2, जो ग्रास होती रिजके का 1 साल का बीज तो अपन सर्टिफाई करके थ्रू आउट नेशन दे रहे हैं, पर 3 साल वाला रिजका चाहता है किसान, क्यों खेत में उसकी जुताई करता है, खाद डालता है, बहुत खर्चा होता है, तो कह रहा है कि हमें 3 साल के बीज चाहिए रिजके का, जो T3 कहते हैं। वो एक भी कंपनी इस देश में नहीं है जो T3 रिजका अवेलेबल कराए। तो 2 ही प्रश्न बहुत है, बाकी तो 5-6 थे।
ओके, लंपी स्किन का तो उसका अपना वैक्सीन आ चुका है। आई थिंक इट मस्ट बी ऑलमोस्ट इन कमर्शियल प्रोडक्शन।
No. Only in laboratory production.
Yeah, it's already there. IL is going to produce, so I think it will come very soon. Meanwhile, goatpox vaccine has been extremely effective.
अभी गर्मी का सीजन है, ये लंपी आने का टाइम है।
Goatpox vaccine has been extremely effective, as has been shown in the field.
That was
and
failure.
I don't think that was at all the topic of this session. So maybe we can discuss this at some other time. Okay. So also the
T3
yes,
T3 Rijka bees.
Hanji, that is noted. We will look at that.
I just wanted to answer on this. So the laboratory test has been done, number 1. Number 2, it is in the state of being operationalized commercially. जो regulatory process है उसकी चल रही है अभी, and लगभग 3 companies हैं जो कि इस पे काम कर रही हैं, and very soon we will have a commercial rollout of this vaccine. But at the same time I must say कि जो हमारी goatpox vaccine है वो it is absolutely workable and बहुत अच्छा उसका result हुआ है. आपका मत कुछ दूसरा हो सकता है, लेकिन ये prove हुआ है कि 22-23 में जब lumpy skin disease का breakout हुआ था, उसके बाद से we have started immunizing using this goat pox vaccine, and we have not had we have not had major infections or major breakouts. So the goat pox vaccine is working, but to answer your question, the LSD vaccine will be out soon.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
About silage.
Yes, please.
Dr. John has talked about the affordable solutions for Indian farmers. He was talking about bag silage and the smaller bag silages where vacuum pump can be used. So in India, I think in Maharashtra, since last 13-14 years, we are working on bag silage, and it has spread like anything. I mean, lakhs of ton silage, bag silage is available in a single block. But unfortunately, I should say that's not a perfect solution, because we were the people who percolated it, but now we are facing the problems because of it, because of the low quality silage. So what we need affordable bale silage or good quality bunker silage for bigger farmers. So bag silage should not be percolated based on the field experience what I, as well as many vets across the India, they had in last 12 years. Because we can't go and teach each and every farmer about the quality, about the moisture percent, and so many factors. Of course, it is entirely a different topic of discussion, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, thank you for that information. And it is true, making silage more broad-based has a lot of challenges, including the one about how do you maintain quality at the farm level. So these are some of the challenges that the ministry is also grappling with, and we will also look forward to solutions on that. Thank you for your intervention. One last question, please, or any comment that any of the panelists would like to make? Yes.
Thank you, madam. It's an excellent topic. You have done it. The more important thing, as the NDDB service person also told, we need more infrastructure facilities from the government side so that we can produce more quality milk in various places. Number one. Number two, what happened? The marketing also now shrinking slowly. We should try to take some more of awareness among the public that milk is more important than any other food like that. These are the two recommendations. I'm requesting the chairman and the audience sitting over here to take a decision so that the government can take further action in this matter. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. One last intervention. Anyone in the panel? Any comments?
Good afternoon. This is Amberjeet Singh from Milford, Punjab. My question is about the blockchain technology. Dr. Rajeev discussed about the various technological interventions. Since we are witnessing blockchain as the next technology revolution, blockchain can be used in dairy industry to improve quality, regulate safety, and create a decentralized platform that connects farmers and the consumers. My question is implementation of blockchain is on the agenda of the government, or what programs are there to implement blockchain technology? Thank you.
So as far as the government schemes are concerned, under the dairy development schemes, any technology which is available on the GEM is available for all the dairy cooperatives to adopt, and a large number of dairy cooperatives have already started working commercially using blockchain or traceability, IoT, whatever device they feel is convenient. We are here to support it in the cooperative sector. And also the Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund also funds various kinds of innovative industrial interventions in the private sector. So both these are very much available. So I think now it is time for lunch, and it is time to close this somewhat lengthy but extremely informative session. I hope you all enjoyed it. My sincere thanks to all the very knowledgeable panelists today for your, thank you.
Before we conclude, may I request our session chair, Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS, to please honor our panel members as a token of our gratitude. May I request session chair, Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS, to please hand over mementos to our speakers. Ma'am, please hand over memento to Dr. John Henry Nason. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. John Henry Nason. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. John Henry Nason. Ma'am, please honor Dr. Paul Edwards. Thank you very much, Dr. Paul Edwards, for joining us and for an insightful session. Thank you very much, sir. May I request our chair to please honor Dr. Jirasak Shabatang. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jirasak. It was indeed an insightful session. Nextly, Madam, please honor Mr. Abhijit A. Gurjar. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence and for your valuable remarks. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Madam, please honor Dr. Bhushan Tyagi. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for that highly informative session. We are deeply honored to have you with us. Thank you very much for coming. Nextly, Madam, please honor Mr. Rahul Kumar. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for that highly informative session and for joining us. Nextly, may I request our Honorable Session Chair to please honor Dr. Rajiv Krishnan. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajiv Krishnan, for joining us. And finally, may I humbly request our session chair to please honor our panel member, Mr. Michael Van Urkel. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. We are deeply honored with your presence. And finally, as a token of gratitude, may I request Dr. Minesha, Chairman, NDDB, and Secretary, INC IDF, to please honor our Honorable Session Chair, Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for Honorable Session Chair, Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS. Thank you very much, ma'am. We are indeed proud to have you as our session chair for the first technical session. Thank you very much once again, Ms. Varsha Joshi, IAS. And thank you very much, Dr. Minesha as well. As we conclude this session, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend once again our heartfelt gratitude to our session chairs, speakers, and panel members, and all participants for their contribution. The Insight Share today will undoubtedly inspire and inform future initiatives in farmer-centric innovations for dairying. Thank you very much, all of you, for your attention and participation. Now I invite everyone to kindly join us for lunch. And after lunch, by 2:30, we will be reconvening for the next session focusing on global and regional perspectives on dairying and innovation. We look forward to your continued participation and engaging discussions. Thank you very much, all of you, once again. Please join us for lunch and reassemble by 2:30 p.m. Thank you very much.